Hey YouTube, I want to make a video about the best runes and builds on Azir since a lot of you have been asking about them. The goal of this video is to help everyone out and answer any possible questions you guys may have. Feel free to ask any and all questions in the comments and I'll do my best to answer them. In addition to this video, we also have our modifier guide and a complete matchup spreadsheet for both mid and top lane. They have all the information in this video plus a lot more. The link for these will be in the description and pinned in the comments. If you haven't already, please consider upvoting our guide and leaving a comment on the discussion page. It took an incredible amount of time for my editor and I to make this, so we'd really appreciate it. The first part of this guide will be about the best runes for Azir. Unfortunately, there's no simple way to tell you guys which runes are the best on Azir. He has a handful of viable keystones and everyone has different preferences. Looking over the runes that I prefer on Azir and giving a brief explanation on why for each of them. Alright, so here we have a bunch of pages of runes I think are the most viable. As you can see here, we got First Strike, Comet, Aery, Lethal Tempo, Conqueror, and Hail Blades. I'd say all of these keystones are the most viable for Azir, and let's tell you why. So First Strike, I would take this only into like beefy melee matchups probably. This item, like Azir has a pretty weak early game, so you pretty much just like abuse First Strike to help you get some gold to get your items quicker in the game. So like let's say you're facing like a bruiser or a tank that you can't really kill in laning phase anyway, like you can just take First Strike and you can get like hella gold off them. This will help you get your mythic item faster, and then once you have like an item or two and you're playing like pretty well, like First Strike will help you finish off your build really fast. So if you end up like playing well and snowballing, First Strike can get you like 6 items in like an insane amount of time. And then we got runes like Magical Footwear and Perfect Timing. These two will also help you get like some items faster. Like this will help you get your boots faster, and this can help you get your Zhonyas a tiny bit faster. So yeah, boots, 300 gold value, and you can even get 10 more additional movement speed. For each takedown you get, you can get the boots 45 seconds faster. So if the game's going well, you get this fast. This page can be like insane for snowballing if everything's going well. Perfect Timing, this can be pretty clutch if you need to like rush Zhonyas. You're versus like, I don't know, Zed, Kayn, Kiana champs that just like press R and kill you, and you can just counter them with Zhonyas. And then I'd say these 3 runes here are all pretty viable. Futures Market will allow you to recall faster, or not faster, but a little bit sooner. You can like recall like a wave or two early, you know, get your lost chapter or like finish your mythic item before a really important objective fight. You can take minion dematerializer, use materializer on like a cannon wave, get that pushed in, or you know, it'll just help you do a tiny bit more damage to each minion. Can help you farm if you struggle with that. Then Biscuit Delivery, I'd say this is like decent if you're like trading a lot. Maybe in like poke matchups, mage versus mage. You just want to like out sustain them really. Be in the lane longer than them and make them recall earlier. That's what like Biscuits is like pretty good for. But yeah, I'd say my most common that I take is like Futures Markets, then Biscuits, and then Dematerializer. Next is Cosmic Insight and Time Warp Tonic. I think these two are pretty good. But I pretty much go Cosmic Insight like every single time. I don't really do Time Warp Tonic because I personally don't go Corrupting Potion on Azir. I don't really like it. It doesn't feel good. I like going Doran's Ring, so I don't really go Time Warp Tonic. I always go Cosmic Insight for the item haste and Summoner Spell haste. Like those are both like insane value. Being able to have your flash, ignite, or teleport sooner, or have your like Luden's cooldown get reduced or your Zhonya's cooldown. So Cosmic Insight, insane value. I pretty much go this every single time when I run this page. For secondary, I'd say Sorcery is the best because this is, you know, this is a scaling page. You take First Strike, you want to scale. I'd say, you know, best is like probably Transcendence and Gathering Storm because like, yeah, you're scaling. You want to get that ability haste. You want extra AP. This will help you a ton as the game goes on. These are amazing stats on Azir. Absolute Focus is like solid. Maybe you're versus like a champ who can't really like poke you, you know, like this page you want to go versus like melee champs that you outrange and they like don't have any poke or a way to, you know, take off your First Strike. You can do something like this, Mana Flow Transcendence, but I don't really take Mana Flow very often unless I'm like playing like for my lane, like trying to get kills and stuff. Like once you have Lost Chapter in your mythic item, Azir doesn't really have any mana problems, and you know, you can even get blue buff, so Mana Flow just kind of like, it feels like it falls off. So that's why I like kind of prefer going like full scaling. Scorch I probably would never take the First Strike page, because like your like Scorch gets outscaled pretty fast, you know, by like 10 minutes by Gathering Storm. So I'd only take that for like trying to like win my lane super hard with more aggressive runes. the more aggressive keystone, I should say. And then down here, like I'd say like all three of these are pretty viable. You know, this is just down to preference. I always go the attack speed rune because it helps me like last hits in laning phase, especially under the turret. I'd notice like this is really valuable. The rest kind of depends on your matchup. You know, if you don't know what you're going against, you can go health rune. You're versus like a really heavy AD comp or an assassin or something, armor's really good. You're versus, you know, another mage or AP champ in general, magic resist pretty good. But yeah, so the health rune actually will outscale both of these. So you could always take the health rune if you wanted, because like you know, this will have more value as the game goes on than 6 armor and 8 magic resist. All right, next up we have a Comet page. I pretty much take Comet into like every single mage matchup, and there's some other matchups where Comet feels pretty good. You can see those in the matchup spreadsheet, but off the top of my head, like champs I don't want to interact with, and I just want to like Q auto, hit the Comet, and like back up before they even trade with me. You know, champs like Zay, LeBlanc. This works, you know, pretty well into like poking out assassins too if you want. You know, Jace, he sits like pretty, like a good Jace will sit really far away and just like QE you. Xerath, they all sit super far away, so you're not able to get too many auto talks off. So the poke from Comets will help you slowly poke them out during the laning phase. Help you bully a lot of mages you outrange as well. Then there's also Aery. I pretty much never really go Aery if I'm like tryharding. I'd say it can be consistent if you're maybe facing a melee champ in lane, like a squishy melee champ or a really short range mage, and you can just like drop your soldier when they like go to last hit a minion and just like keep proccing that Aery over and over. A lot of runes outscale Aery, so that's why I just never really take it. Usually if I'm like trying to bully my matchup, I'll go like Comets or Halo Blades, because I think these both will be way more consistent than Aery versus squishy like melees or range champs. The next column, we have Mana Flow Band and Nullifying Orb. I'd say these two are viable. Nimbus Cloak doesn't really sound very good on Azir. He doesn't really need movement speed like that, so I'd say these are more valuable. You could consider Nullifying Orb if you're versus like a Burst Mage mid lane, or like they have multiple AP champs on their team. This would have pretty high value and help keep you alive. So for, I guess for example, it'd be like Syndra or LeBlanc. But yeah, before you have like Lost Chapter or your Mythic, you'll be kind of struggling with mana. Usually my page would look something like this. Transcendence and Absolute Focus, I'd say, are viable. They're versus like a melee champ who can't really, you know, take out your HP very much. Absolute Focus can be pretty consistent. You know, they have like a lot of melees on their team. Maybe the extra AP will help you have a stronger laning phase. Transcendence like gives you scaling ability haste, and at level 11, I value this a lot. This can be super duper clutch in team fights. It reduces on champion takedown, or reduces the remaining cooldown of basic abilities by 20%. So this has given me like mini clutch moments in fights where I'm able to like get another drift off or like move my soldiers for a kill, get an extra soldier a little bit earlier. This rune actually pretty clutch. Ability haste will help you get out your soldiers and all that. Next we have Scorch and Gathering Storm. I pretty much only take Scorch if I'm like smurfing or I feel like insanely confident I can just get solo kills in a matchup. Maybe the other player is really bad. But if the other player is really good, I probably just go Gathering Storm. It will outscale Scorch in like 10 minutes, and that's AP will be a lot more valuable. The best secondary runes, I'd say, is the Domination Tree. You know, since you're playing as a poke mage with this setup, I usually go like Cheap Shot or Ingenious Hunter, because, you know, I'm laning versus like probably a squishy champ. So maybe I'll go Ludens. This will help like lower the cooldown of Ludens from the item haste it gives. It also lowers Zhonya's Banshees. I'd also probably go Ultimate Hunter if I can't go Ludens. Like if I need like Leandries, I'll go Ultimate Hunter. Like maybe they have a couple of like beefy champs on their team that I won't be able to kill later without Leandries. So Ultimate Hunter, I think it's always a really consistent rune you can take. The ability haste, like being able to like get your ult a bit sooner, feels really nice. Like I definitely notice a difference. Like pretty much I'll have my ult up like in every single like fight every minute. So that can be pretty clutch. Then there's like a lot of assassins who have shorter ult cooldowns than you, and then you'll be able to peel them off around the same time that their ult comes back up. Ghost Poro and Eyeball Collection are both pretty good. I'd say Ghost Poro is way more consistent. Eyeball Collection is only like good if there's like a bunch of early fights happening. And Azir's not very strong in the early game. He needs items to scale, so pretty much only go this if I'm like smurfing. But yeah, Ghost Poro, you'll be able to like get this AP so much sooner into the game. You'll be able to get out like a lot of extra vision as well to help you play safe, make you even harder to gank, be able to get vision enemy jungle. So this is really good. Secondary would look something like this or something like this. Like I'd say like any of these combinations are pretty viable. It's gotta be, you know, your own preference. There's other runes you can consider. Wait, I don't know if I talked about Taste of Blood, but you can consider Taste of Blood if you're like getting poked out a lot, or maybe you're not too confident at dodging skill shots. Maybe you're laning versus like Xerath or something, who like slightly outranges you. You're getting poked out a lot. So a Taste of Blood can be like kind of useful to help you with sustain. Maybe you can also go Biscuits to help you with that as well. Do something like this. I wouldn't go Magical Footwear if I'm in a matchup where I need to like dodge a lot of skill shots because I like want the boot sooner. This movement speed will help you, you know, dodge skill shots a bit earlier in the game. Get the rush boots. You know, you could do something like this if you wanted to take this into an assassin. This would be, you know, Cosmic Insight. Perfect timing would be pretty good. You know, you could even consider a futures market. But yeah, I'd say Domination probably the second best. All right, next up in the precision tree, we have Lethal Tempo and Conqueror being viable. I consider these runes when I'm facing melee champs, specifically in the top lane usually. Like you need Lethal Tempo or Conqueror to help you like take out these like really strong bruisers and tanks who, you know, stack up a lot of durability and health. So you're going to be able to auto attack them a lot, and as the game goes on and they get even tankier, these you know, extra autos or a little bit extra AP on their soldiers will help out a ton in taking them out. You can take these into like some melee matchups mid as well. You know, just like any melee champ you're able to auto attack a lot, you will get value out of these runes. Next up, you know, Presence of Mind. I don't take Mana Flow when I run Lethal Tempo. You're playing for scaling pretty much. So the Presence of Mind will help a lot in the laning phase before I get my Mythic item. And maybe if I run in a team fight and they get a takedown, I'll be able to get a bunch of mana back. Next up, we have Alacrity and Tenacity. I pretty much go Alacrity most of the time, but if there's a ton of CC on enemy team, Tenacity can be considered. Next up, I pretty much go either Cut Down or Last Stand. So I'm usually, you know, taking this page in the top lane or, you know, facing melees in the mid lane. So there are like a lot of melee champs who are able to like jump into you and like chunk like half your HP bar in one combo. So Last Stand can be like pretty strong in that scenario. Off the top of my head, like Camille, when she like jumps at you and hits you with that Cho'Gath ult, you'll get a lot of value out of Last Stand. And then after that, there's Cut Down. I would probably take this into champions who like stack a ton of health. Azir has like a lot more like base HP from the durability update and the previous buff. So I pretty much only take Cut Down maybe if I'm facing like super duper tanks. Like, I don't know, Mundo, Ornn, Sion, Cho'Gath. Some of these champs can like infinitely stack HP. This can be considered there. But in like a lot of matchups versus bruisers, like this won't really come in and like help you in the early game. So I'd only take this versus tanks. Maybe you're versus like a bruiser with like not much mobility and it's really hard for them to get on you. That's when I would probably take like Coup de Grace. And then like I said, this is a scaling page. Take Transcendence and Gathering Storm to help me scale up, give me some very useful stats for later into the game. If you want to like try to win your lane matchup really hard, you can consider Mana Flow. But like I said, last chapter, and once you get your Mythic item, it's going to not be as useful. You could have had like a lot of more AP as the game goes on. Like I said earlier, Absolute Focus pretty good in the champs who aren't able to like, you know, attack you much because you have like a big range advantage on them. Absolute Focus can give you like a stronger laning phase with your auto attacks. But yeah, Transcendence way more consistent. I probably wouldn't really take Scorch. Doesn't sound that useful. Well, I guess it could be considered. So between Lethal Tempo and Conqueror, my preference over the two is Lethal Tempo. I find the attack speed it gives me when it's fully stacked to feel a lot stronger for me in the early game, and especially as the game goes on. Once you get your items, the extra attacks you can get from Lethal Tempo will, you know, obviously hurt a ton. So I think your DPS is going to be a lot stronger with this rune over Conqueror. Azir's abilities don't have very good AP ratios on them. His at best his W and his ult both have 60%. So I just feel like the attack speed is more consistent than Conqueror. Plus the healing on Conqueror like isn't very useful. You heal for 8% of the damage you deal to champions, 5% for ranged champs. That's not going to be very much, especially in the early game. You're not going to notice it at all until like you have several items or 6 items, you know, in that range. I've also been able to get a lot of extra kills, like chasing people down with the extra range I've gotten. And I've also been able to like completely like a lot of champions with extra range as they like chase into me, like run through my soldiers. I've had like an 80 carry before, like run through my soldiers and he couldn't even get like a single auto off on me as I just like walked backwards and kited him. But yeah, I just find lethal tempo to be stronger in the early and the mid-late game than Conqueror. And lastly, for the runes, we have Hail of Blades for our keystone. I find Hail of Blades to be a better version of Electrocute on Azir since he is an auto attacker and he can benefit from more auto attacks. So give you 3 really fast auto attacks, so you can have like a really strong burst in the laning phase. And it also scales really well once you have items. I pretty much take this when I'm facing short range melee champs, you know, like assassins or some ADCs. Or some mages with really short range too. You know, in matchups where Aery's viable, I think Hellblades is also just a better version of that. If you're like able to auto attack them, like why not get a couple extra auto attacks? It's going to out damage Electrocute and Aery. Of like the aggressive runes, I'd say Hellblades is the strongest, but it does leave you open to, you know, have them trade back with you since you're going to be, you know, standing still mostly, like auto attacking. You know, they're probably wondering about Dark Harvest. No, I'd only probably take this in ARAM, where there's just literally constant fighting. You know, you're going to do way less damage throughout a game if you take Dark Harvest over like any other aggressive rune. You could be doing so much more damage with the runes that like proc before they're half HP. So no, I would not ever take this on Azir other than like ARAM. Predator, like, you know, Azir's weak early game champ. You're not going to get much use out of Predators for fun. So Yellow Blades versus, you know, squishy champs, squishy comps. If I see a comp, you know, like without any like bruisers or tanks, it'll be like, yo, Yellow Blades angle. I'm able to auto attack them a bit more without really taking any trades. Yellow Blades. Like I said, it's a really aggressive rune. You want to try and like get advantages with this in the early game. You know, burst squishies with it. So I take cheap shots. We go Ghost Poro for some early AP. Go Ingenious, like I said, squishy comps, squishy champs. So you likely build Ludens, Zhonyas and stuff like that. No, it's another like burst item to synergize really well with Hell Blades. There's Treasure Hunter if you're like smurfing in bronze. I wouldn't really take that though. I think Ingenious Hunter and Ultimate Hunter will give you more value. Relentless Hunter is there's not much of a roamer. He wants to sit in lane, get 10 CS a minute, and like poke out the other laner. Except for secondary runes, I usually take Transcendence and Gathering Storm, or a combo of Absolute Focus and Gathering Storm. This will give you like, you know, another like fat AP boost as the game goes on. Absolute Focus is good if they're not able to like trade back with you and, you know, lower your health bar. And Transcendence is just always a consistent rune on Azir. He likes the ability Haste. It allows him to get more soldiers out. And the champion cooldown on champion takedown reduces the remaining cooldowns of basic abilities by 20%. Can be clutch, like I said, in some team fights. Other stuff you could consider, I definitely think Sorcery is by far the like best secondary page. I mean, you could consider Scorch too, but like I said, Scorch gets outscaled really fast, really hard. So if you don't absolutely stomp your lane, then it's like, frick, I wish I didn't take Scorch. I wish I had, you know, anything else right now. And I mean, I guess you could consider like other secondary pages. Maybe a Verse and Assassin, you know, you want that Zhonya's early, or you want some biscuits for more mana to poke them with. Cosmic Insight, you can do like a combination of like Cosmic Insight and Ingenious Hunter when you have like Ludens and all this stuff. That extra item haste can be nutty. Knock off a couple seconds on your Ludens. So in these like a little bit longer fights, able to proc that more. Or you do something like this and you get your, you know, Zhonya's active up a bit earlier. Because, you know, you have all these assassins on the enemy team like trying to jump you. This is something you can consider in like some of your pages. If you're maybe versus assassins. Bone plating can help, but you know, it's got a really long cooldown. Demolish, you know, you're facing an assassin who just like perma roams. You're playing versus Katarina, who like knows they can't lane against you. So I mean, you could just like farm tower plates with this in the laning phase. You can take Overgrowth for some extra HP. Like, this is not a bad rune at all. Let's say in that order, like what I find to be the best runes for secondary. Sorcery probably the best, most consistent by far. But yeah, you can consider other runes. Like, these can be violent in like very certain specific scenarios. That should be it for the runes, guys. I hope it was very educational. I hope it clears up like what you should take. This part of the guide will be all about Azir's viable items. I get many questions in my Twitch chat, you know, like Bloons or Leandries, what do I build? So here we go. It should help a lot, I hope. Azir has quite a few viable mythics, which is why many people get confused. Versus squishy comps, squishy matchups, you can go Ludens. versus like tanks and bruisers, you're like laning versus one, or maybe if the enemy team has like multiple, you'll need the Andres to like help take them out as the game goes on. Ludens like will fall off as the game goes on, and if they have like a ton of HP, like you pretty much won't be able to kill them. Andres will help you do bonus damage to anyone who like stacks HP. Another mythic I think is like pretty good. I don't really go this very often, but I think Crown is like pretty solid. It gives you 75% damage reduction, so any like assassins or burst mages who like catch you off guard, this item will like help you survive and not get like chunked out. Champs you want to all in you if you're versus a team comp with a bunch of melee champs, like a dive comp, this can be useful. It's down to preference, like I said. I usually just go Ludens or the Andres every game because I want to do the most damage possible. I play Azir as a DPS character. A lot of you wonder like when to go Nashors. I pretty much go Nashors every single game. I think it's like probably one of his best items. Like it's an amazing stat stick. Sure, the passive is useless on your soldiers. They do not apply on hit effects. But 100 AP and 50% attack speed is insanely good for 3,000 gold. So I usually buy this second item. It feels like the second and most like consistent item on Azir. Like best 2-item power spike. Like this rune will help you farm faster. Like it's going to help you in extended trades. It's going to do more damage. It's going to help you take towers faster. I've noticed I've taken towers like 10 seconds faster, or was able to get a tower before I get like collapsed on because I've had the attack speeds of Nashor's Tooth. This will also help you take objectives way faster, like Dragon and Baron. It's going to help you pretty much take out every champ in the game a bit faster in these extended trades. And, since the durability update, like a lot of fights are extended. I pretty much never go Shadowflame anymore. It feels like it just falls off too hard, and like as soon as they buy MR, it's like, dang, I wish I just had Void Staff instead of buying this item. But yeah, if you're not versus like any, tanks or bruisers on enemy team, let's say they like trolled their team comp, they have like no front line or whatever, they're not like being respectful and buying like items like Maw, Banshees, Force of Nature, stuff like that, then Shadowflame can be good. Since I build Nashor's Tooth, there's like no item slot for Shadowflame because all these other items, as you see here, are I'd call them core items. They're all like very consistent every single game. Rabadon will give you a fat AP spike, so usually when I buy this like third or fourth item, you can buy it even sooner if you're snowballing insanely hard for some reason. Void Staff, whenever they buy any MR, usually when they have 60 to 70 MR, this item will be insanely stat efficient and it will outscale the heck out of Shadowflame. There are some builds you can do without Nashor's Tooth. Maybe you're versus like a poke comp that you're not even able to auto attack a lot, so maybe you're just able to like Q auto them once or all in them with a Stream of Shuffle. That's when like Shadowflame can be taken over Nashor's Tooth in my opinion. Yeah, I play Azir as a DPS champ front to back like an ADC. I feel like that's the best way to play him and like what helps me like carry my games. Then you got like Zhonyas and Banshees. You take Zhonyas versus like heavy AD comps, or if there's any ults you want to dodge, the Zhonya's active is very clutch. Versus like those burst assassins and whatever. Banshees if you're versus like any burst mages, or if their team just has a bunch of like AP champs like in the mid and jungle or more. The Banshee shield can also be like really helpful in scenarios like, let's say you're getting ulted over the wall by a Fiddlesticks. You won't get hit by the fear because you have the Banshee shield. Or like, you're facing Diana and she like hits you with a Q. She won't be able to like EU, like reset it. That like will take off a lot of her damage. There's Everfrost. Ever since they nerfed the active, like the CC duration, I've not even like bothered even looking at this item or taking it. But if champs are like diving into you and like tower diving you, Everfrost like can, halt them. Give you a couple extra auto attacks, can help you make plays. It's up to your playstyle and preference. I take the Andres and Ludens, so I feel like I do damage and can carry a game because Azir is an insane hyper carry. You can do a Stream of Shuffle and like ult someone into your turret and then Everfrost them. That's like a pretty spicy combo, down to your preference and how you want to play. If you're facing champs or comps with a lot of sustain, you can buy an early Oblivion Orb and sit on that. Grevious Wounds has been nerfed, so I usually just like let my teammates buy this. Maybe if I'm going to be like on an island, just like 1v1ing like an Aatrox or Vladimir or something, then not like buy the Grevious Wounds myself. You can buy a Dark Seal early in the game. Usually on your first back, you can consider getting this, but like will delay your like Lost Chapter and Mythic a little bit. But you end up playing pretty clean. Azir's like kind of hard to kill. He's a lot of mobility and range, so you're playing pretty clean, his Dark Seal has insane value, and if you're like turbo smurfing, getting hella kills, you can upgrade into Mejai's. But no, it is very risky, very dangerous. If you make a mistake, you'll lose a ton of stacks, and you'll feel really bad, and it wouldn't have been worth the item slot or the gold. There's Night Harvester. I think this is kind of a for fun item. I think Luden's is just a better version of this because it gives mana, and you'll be able to use the Luden's passive damage a lot more often, so it's just a more consistent item overall than Night Harvester. Maybe your versus an insanely squishy comp. You could go Night Harvester for fun. You can have like mana flow and presence of mind, so you have mana. Tier really sucks on Azir. Archangels is really bad. The stats are like really terrible for the item. It's just like not worth an item slot in my opinion. But yeah, if you're hitting 5 people at once with your ultimate, Night Harvester is kind of sick. And it makes a cool sound, gives a bunch of movement speed. But yeah, I'd say for fun item. Riftmaker, I think this item sucks. The Omnivamp on it is useless. Some people buy this item to like feel like they're playing Bruiser Azir. I don't think that's a great way to play Azir. This item will make you so much weaker in the early game, and the only benefit it has is like HP. The true damage, like it's not going to do that much damage, especially in the early game. You can buy this into like melee champs, but Liandry's is going to by far do more damage than Riftmaker, so I just always buy Liandry's over it. And you know, you get more mana, more CDR. Like I said, Omnivamp, it's only 33% effective on AoE abilities, which is all of Azir's abilities, so it's kind of a wasted stat. Riftmaker has a really crappy build path. Leeching Leer is like 1300 gold for like 20 AP, a little bit of HP, and then useless on the vamp. So I'd just call this a for fun item. Demonic Embrace, it's okay. I wouldn't really put this in my standard build. Maybe if I'm playing versus like a Scion or a Cho'Gath, you know, these champs who I've mentioned can stack HP infinitely, this could be considered. You can combine it, you know, with your Riftmaker if you're doing like a Bruiser build, Shadowflame, you're just trying to stack a bunch of HP. Some for fun stuff you can do. Yeah, I think Shadowflame just falls off super hard. I'd rather save an item slot for Void stuff and have a Nashor's Tooth for more DPS. It's too easy to counter this item, just buy some MR. There's Rylai's. You can consider this item if you're facing champs like Hecarim and Callista. You can like kind of cuck them because they're like hits want like movement speed. You can take it versus like a comp who's like trying to dive you, or like, you know, in general, like a bunch of melee champs. Still can be useful for you and your team, but you know, this item will not do very much damage. Cosmic Drive, I'd consider just the for fun item. It's not really needed in your builds. I feel like Nashor Tooth is just a better version of Cosmic Drive. Like you build Cosmic Drive to have your, you know, to get your soldiers out faster for the attack speed. Well, you just will have more attack speed, more damage going Nashor Tooth. So I don't really build Cosmic Drive. Like if I'm playing for LP, like my build looks something like this, or it looks something like this, or then like Banshees or Zhonyas. Like I'll finish Morello if maybe no one on my team is buying any Grevious wounds, or you know, I'm like stuck on an island 1v1ing a champ with a bunch of sustain like Aatrox, Vladimir. I think Heisen Focus is okay. Not going to put it in like a standard build though. I'd say this is only good for like artillery mages who can like constantly shoot out skill shots from afar. I'd say Azir is not that kind of champ. I'd say all these other items are just better than this, so I wouldn't really build this unless I'm like, you know, just for fun and experimenting. All these items will be way more consistent in like every scenario and just be all around the best build possible. And I think that should wrap it up for all the items that are viable and buildable on Azir, or any items people like to build on him that they might have questions about, like, oh, I've seen this guy build this and all that. So hopefully that can answer some of your questions. These are my preferences. Forgot to mention it, but if you're wondering like where you can like slot in Morello if you feel like you need it, you could either take out Nashor Tooth or you can take out your defensive item. If you further want help with knowing what to buy versus what champs, you can check out the matchup guide. It also includes any tips and tricks or things to think about as you play these matchups. And yeah, I really hope this video gives you all more clarity on Azir's best runes and itemization in Season 12. Please subscribe to my channel, leave a like on the video, and comment if this helped you. All of your support is very much appreciated. And finally, please ask any and all questions if you're still unsure about something, and I'll do my best to answer them. Thank you all for watching and for your time. Peace.